and I thought I would take my dad. It would be such a wonderful experience because my dad was a pretty big hockey fan at the time, and they got destroyed by New Jersey, and my dad stopped becoming a hockey fan because he was so angry that they got destroyed by the Devils, those like great Devils teams with Scott Stevens, and I mean they were a juggernaut.
Yeah, Sikora, Eliash, Arnott, yeah, they were pretty great that year. Scott Gomez,
and he reminds me, he's like, I don't like hockey anymore because of you. Like, oh gee, thanks, Dad.
Well, that's harsh. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. I feel like he deserves a verbal spanking for that one. That's rough.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag, part of the Podhub network. In this episode, I welcome back Matt Gajtka to talk about the latest going on with the Penguins, and we also talk about some of those old Penguin teams from 99, 2000, 2001, and we talk a little bit about baseball, too. The Donut Bag starts right now. The Penguins have lost 7 of 12, and who knows what's going on with them. With me to talk about them is Matt Gajtka. He is play-by-play of the Riverhounds and RMU hockey. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're getting down to it now, to the time when everyone freaks out over every win-loss or, I was going to say tie, but we don't really have those in the NHL anymore. But you know what I mean. Whether you get 2 points, 1 point, or 0, it's getting emotional, and I understand it. So I'm not trying to put down anybody or criticize their fandom, but it was just amusing to me the other night. You said it lost 7 of 12, so it's not exactly the biggest slump in the world. It included the All-Star break, no Malkin, hot Hurricanes team. So it's always fascinating to me to see which losses or which results tend to set people off.
Yeah, when you say lost 7 of 12, it's not that bad, actually.
Yeah, right. It's barely. It's 500 basically.
Yeah. It's like it's like before the Super Bowl. You know how they have those Madden simulates the and predicts the winner or whatever, and they said they have it every right except for the season, the games that they get it wrong, and they said. It's been successful 5 of the last 9 times.
Yeah, right. This stuff's hard to predict when it comes to that. I think I saw the Patriots had won in 53% of the simulations. So yeah. It takes a basic understanding of probability and all that, and just common sense to know that it's pro sports and there are no walkover games. And, well, especially when it comes to the Super Bowl, obviously. But even in the middle of the NHL regular season, there are no walkover games.
I thought they were past this, the Penguins. They lost last night to Carolina 4-0. And it's just this is the kind of stuff I would expect in October and November, the games that they don't get, really up for or whatever. And is it time to be alarmed, or is this just how it is with the Penguins?
Well, as I said at the top, number one, they don't have Malkin, so they're a different team when they don't have one of the top 2 guys. And I know that Gino hasn't had his best year ever, but at the same time, he creates matchup problems, and he allows Mike Sullivan to not have to double shift Crosby like he was doing in the third period on Tuesday night. So there are big effects there. This is a team that's built around having those 2 guys. So when you don't have one of those 2 guys, it's going to be a little different. And we see that Matt Murray is injured again. I'm not sure if that happened during the game or if that was something, again, nagging that's popped up. But, I wouldn't necessarily get on the goaltending too much, but there were a couple that bounced off his body and in on Tuesday night, and I'm not sure it was his greatest performance ever. And you throw in something else, like I also mentioned, the Hurricanes are playing really well. This is not a bad opponent. I know they're out of the playoff positioning right now as we speak, but they've been one of the best teams in hockey for the last several weeks. And when I looked at the schedule after the All-Star break, I circled this one as being a real test and a really tough one. Now, the loss to the Devils was lackluster. That was a team that appeared to have no direction. But the game against the Hurricanes, I don't have an issue with that necessarily. I don't feel like that was any kind of an egregious result. Yeah, they didn't score a goal, but they had several grade A scoring chances, and you play that game again. There you go with the simulation reference. You play that game 100 times, and I bet the Penguins get at least 3 goals, say 80 to 90 of those times. So I'm not terribly concerned about last night's game. The one thing I am concerned about is that it appears that from defensive side of things, they appear to be putting a lot of stock in the fact that Justin Schultz is going to be able to just step on the ice after 6 months off almost and be at top strength, because as of right now, they're rolling out a couple of replacement level guys and Jack Johnson and Juuso Riikola. So they're a 2-pairing team right now, and it's not helping their breakout. It's not helping their forwards, in addition to not helping in their own end.
Yeah, you mentioned missing Malkin, but they're also missing Schultz. They're also missing Zach Aston Reese.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems that kind of is the belief. It's like, oh, when Schultz comes back, everything's gonna be wonderful. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, because the defense has been a problem all year, and it's not just the defensemen; it's just the the forwards also. Yeah, we'll see. What did you think about the Brassard trade? It's it's still a mystery why Brassard didn't work out here, and I just saw a story that basically confirms what people think, that it was about playing time and he wasn't happy with his role. But what do you think about the return that they got for him and Sheahan?
Well, I think it's a not bad return. I'm not exactly blown away by Nick Bjugstad, who I think is a good player, but he's not any kind of a star, certainly. Maybe they don't need a star, but it's not a runaway win, excuse me, for Jim Rutherford. He had to give up a couple of mid-round draft picks in order to get younger in this deal, which seems like the primary benefit of it, regardless of the talent that Bjugstad or pardon me, I'm forgetting his name now.
McCann.
McCann. They picked up from Florida. McCann's having maybe his best year in the NHL, so good for him. And he's still pretty young. He's still in his early 20s. I believe he's 22 at the latest, at the oldest, I mean. And Bjugstad, we've seen some good things from him, and maybe he plays with some top of the line talent. We saw him with Crosby at practice on Wednesday, so that could be interesting. I don't think Sid's had a big body like that who can move, who can shoot on his wing in a long, long time. So that part of it is intriguing. But you did give up draft picks, and you did take a chance here that these guys are going to be a better fit. Now, it wouldn't take much to be a better fit than Derek Brassard, to be honest with you. And like you mentioned, the story from Jason Mackey of the Post-Gazette, he got down to Florida a couple of days early and wanted to talk to Brassard about it. And usually guys are more honest after they leave, right? That's just human nature. And apparently he's feeling good about the move, even though he went from in the playoffs to out of the playoffs. And it just appeared that he was one of these players who needs 20 minutes a night, who needs all the top unit special teams time in order to get into a proper rhythm, because it just wasn't working as the number 3 center in Pittsburgh. And I don't know if that's anybody's fault at all. I don't know if Brassard himself could have been able to tell that before he got to the Penguins and tried to fit into that subordinate spot. And it was an important spot. That's why I love the pickup last year, and that's why I'll continue to defend that trade until my last breath, because I felt like it was the right move. And I know that obviously Jim Rutherford and many people in the organization did. So sometimes you just can't tell, and sometimes you just have to plug guys in and see how it works. They're human beings. They're not robots here, and this isn't just a cog in the machine type of a situation. There are all sorts of changing circumstances, and one of those was an injury that he suffered late last year that limited his productivity. But I think it was just time to move on, and his contract's running out, so you might as well try to get something for him. they had to throw a couple sweeteners in there to allow the trade to be completed. But I think it was time. And if there ever was a situation where you needed to make a change just for change's sake, I think it was this one.
Yeah, it's just so we can't. Hindsight is 2020, and when the trade was made, nobody was complaining. Maybe people were complaining about the first round draft pick or losing Ryan Reeves or whatever, but nobody was angry that Brassard came. I mean, people were already printing Stanley Cup champion T-shirts and things and just basically jumping for joy. So yeah, it didn't work, and at least Jim Rutherford admitted he made a mistake and did something about it, which is something he does. But speaking of mistakes, is Jack Johnson a mistake? I mean, we have what, about a little over half of a season of data, and I don't see anything good about what he's doing, and I don't see anyone defending what he's doing. It's still, why is he out there? Why is he still playing? Why is he here? Is Jack Johnson just hopeless?
Well, your question, is he a mistake? I think the question more is, what degree of mistake is this? To commit that much term and that much money to a player who in Columbus couldn't even get in the lineup in the playoffs last year, and who has been a possession black hole, who's been a net negative no matter who he was playing with on the Blue Jackets in the last few years, or even going back to his time with the Kings when he was still considered maybe not a premier Norris Trophy level guy, but definitely a nice mid-level guy. He just never had the substance to back up the flash. And even now you see moments where he can really fire the puck. He protects the front of the net. He's a physical player. So you see why he was considered to be an intriguing prospect, and why he was one of the top picks in the draft. The year he was chosen more than a decade ago now. But obviously he is not good enough in all the aspects of the game that a modern defenseman has to fill. This is not the old days of Scott Stevens. This is not the time where you could throw out a Darian Hatcher and he could lumber around and hit a few guys and he wouldn't get burned too bad. This is just, it's a speed and it's a quickness game, and it's just not Jack Johnson's strength. And I also don't think he reads the play very well. So if you want to talk about numbers, you want to talk about eye test, I don't think he passes any of that. And I think if you're a Penguins fan, you should point to that deal as a real albatross and a millstone around the Penguins' neck, because this is a team that can't afford to make too many mistakes like that, because they have so many guys who are paid a large amount. And actually, they're fortunate that Crosby and Malkin took discounts. You could even argue that Chris Letang took a discount too when he signed his extension a few years back. So they have some money to play with, but they don't have a lot of money to play with, because they have so many players, so many star-level guys that they have to dole out the cash to each and every year. So to make a mistake like that, which was a mistake before they even signed him, was a mistake when they were signing him, and is a mistake now, it's going to take probably perfect general managing from Jim Rutherford the rest of the way to get another Stanley Cup out of this group, or at least a deep playoff run. I'm just not sure. As I said, I think they need some more help. They need some more depth on the blue line, and I'm not sure where that's going to come from, if they're going to have to give up another first-round pick. But it's all predicated on the fact that, or it's all based upon the fact that they doled out this much money and this much term to a player that probably should have just warranted a one-year show-me type of a contract, and he got the opposite of that from the Penguins.
Yeah, but I hear so many people saying what you're saying, like, what are they doing? Oh, man, they're stuck with this. Oh, why are we? But yet he plays every night. It's not like he's being benched. It's like nobody. It seems like nobody in the Penguins thinks that he's a problem. So I don't see him being traded or anything like that. I think we're just stuck with him, I guess.
At least for now. Now, maybe a year down the road, maybe it's not working. Maybe he is being benched. And I wouldn't rule that out, him having a seat by the end of the season once Justin Schultz comes back. then you have a choice between Johnson and Ricola as it stands at the moment. I would like to see Chad Ruedel get more of a chance.